Hey, my RC people, Tony here, CCxRC, and we're back. We've got the MIP drive shafts. We're going to take these, and we're going to put it into this right after the break. I can't tell you how good it feels to be back in here, in the air conditioning, out of that hot box of a garage to work a little bit. You know, the only thing that was keeping me from coming up here was having to bring a couple tools up and move some lights and things like that. I've just been sweating it out. I decided to be a little bit smarter right, of course, at the end of summer and move back up here where I could be a little bit more comfortable, have some nice light to work in, a good table. So we've got the SCX10 here. Now, you guys that have been following me for a little while, you know that I am still somewhat, not really too new to this anymore. But this whole thing for me with the YouTube channel was to kind of learn along with me as I'm going. Well, this SCX10, this was my first trail truck, crawler, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, so I'm still running this thing, still loving it, doing some upgrades to it. But it's still dirty. And yeah, we're going to take a look at it because right in here, I'm going to show you the drive shafts. This thing looks like a piece of licorice, and the back one is starting to turn. I heard some clicking at the end of my last run, which was a couple weeks ago now. I just haven't had time to install these, and I'm finally getting to it because we're going to be going camping again here, or I'm going to be going camping and doing some RCing here very soon in a couple of weeks, so I want to get the truck dialed back in before I go. So let's get to this. Before anything, what I'm going to do is let's get right to this. For the people that want to see these get assembled, we'll go ahead and assemble these drive shafts, and then we'll look at the problem that I had with mine twisting up. But if anybody's wondering how this all works, we'll get that out of the way first, and then you can skedaddle if you want to. All right, I lied. Let's take a look at it if we can. Do we see it in there? Oh yeah, there it is. Look at that twist. Looking good. Look at that rust too. Got some rust going in there. Oh yeah, and then this one's just got the slightest little twist to it. Not too bad. But you can see it starting to twist a little. So we're going to replace those. Those are stock and they've been through a lot of abuse. They're just beat up. Alright. Here we go. Give you a little look here. That one's definitely twisted. Look at that. That awesome licorice goodness right there. Alright, so now as I promised, let's get to the MIP drive shaft assembly. Let's take a quick look at the directions. Alright, so what we've got to do now is just wait a minute. Alright, so there are all of our tiny little pieces. I'm going to go ahead and grease this one up now so that when it goes in there, it'll have just a little bit on to give it some movement inside of here. And also put a dab in here. Not a lot of grease in here, but you don't need a ton because you've only got two that you're assembling. So I'm going to go ahead and while I've got some on my fingers, start applying it to this side as well. Alright guys, I've got this all laid out. It's kind of important, so I just want to do it again. I messed up when I put it together because it wasn't very clear in the directions. Now I've got a couple things that I want to have on my truck. So when my gear is together, I want it to be running this direction. So any dirt that gets in here will fall out instead of like this where it will land inside there. So I want to keep it running this direction. So that means that I want this longer ball end coming to the top. And then that is important because the outdrive from the transmission is right by your spur gear. And when I had done it the first time and I assembled it, it was actually, I had it backwards. I had it like this, which meant that this drive shaft was sitting closer to the spur gear, and when the shocks compressed, it actually rubbed on the drive shaft. And so I had to take it all apart. I could have just flipped it, but I wanted to keep it so that I had this part at the top and this at the bottom, like so. Again, I wish it was a little bit more clear, so I'm just going to go through the process again really quickly and just show all of them assemble the same way, except that the rear has this little bit longer piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this barrel right here and I'm going to put it into this ball end. Now there's a couple things to pay attention to. One of the sides is threaded, which on this one is right here. You've also got a hole that runs through the side of it that this shaft goes through. And this little pin here, or this shaft, I'll call it a pin, has a notch in it. And that notch is going to be needing to point towards the threaded end, which again is the top. So the notch is up, the top is up. So when it goes through and you put your grub screw in, it'll lock it in place. All right, so it's not that simple, but it's simple enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in, making sure, again, I want to keep my threads up. So make sure your holes align so that they're able to see through the edging on this ball end. All right. Because what you're going to do then is you're going to align those right here with the holes for the pin to go through all the way. Again, my threads are up, so what I want is I want the flat spot of this pin to be up when it goes through the barrel here inside of the ball end. All right, come on and work it through. And there we go. Because I'm doing this again, I ran out of their lock, so I'm going to have to make a little bit of a dab of blue Loctite here that I can then put onto the grub screws and then onto the pins that hold it to the out drives. So I'm going to grab my grub screw here, get it on. There you go, just run it in here, get a dab of it, and then we're just going to screw it into our threaded side like so. Get it nice and tight. I like to wipe away the excess Loctite if there is some, which in this case there was. And now we do the same thing with the other side. Now I've already got, because the grease is in here, it's holding it in place. I just want to make sure I get my threads up again so that I can just keep track of this pretty easily and make sure that I don't have any malfunctions when I'm out on the trail. All right, there we go. So I'll get the Loctite again, get this grub screw, the blue thread locker, this grub screw to land on and hit that flat spot on our pin like so, and then we'll just make sure that our pins are both facing upright. Now that's important. We want them to be aligned, and that'll help to avoid the axle chatter. As you can see, one of them is a little bit longer. This is going to go toward the rear of the truck, which just makes sense because of where the motor is placed in the truck. It's more toward the front, and so you've got a longer stretch that you've got to make toward the rear. You've got the shorter one, of, like I said, will go toward the front of the vehicle. All that we have left are these 4 little pin screws right here that will go through and attach it to the gearbox, the outputs, shafts coming out of the gearbox that will then in turn turn these, turn the wheels, and keep the truck moving, which is what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I like to do the motor side first, and again I want the longer end to go to the motor here so I can line it up most easily, because moving the one with the wheels is really simple. There it is, that went in. I'll just tighten this down and we'll get the back one set up. Alright guys, for the most part that was a pretty easy fix. The product from MIP is top quality. It's very well machined, and it looks like it's going to be bulletproof. I do wish, however, that the instructions were a little bit more clear on where the different ends went onto the actual shafts themselves, and then where they actually mounted to your truck. So what I didn't understand at first was that the longer end actually is so that it will clear your spur gear. Now that seems like it probably to them should make most sense to everybody putting it together, but I just didn't think about it as I was installing it until I started rubbing my spur gear on the drive shaft, which meant I then had to take them apart and reassemble them because I still wanted to keep the female ends pointing down with the male splined parts going up, so if any dirt gets in, it'll fall out. So I put them on the wrong way because I didn't know how it was going to assemble in the end, and it wasn't very clear. Also, just be sure that you keep your pins lined up as you're putting the actual shafts together, that the pins are running the same way, just to try and avoid any axle chatter you might get if the pins are kind of crossed. You know, maybe one is this way and one is the other, you know, upright. If you get them going the same way, get the weight distribution, everything the same. That way, as it spins, you should not get any of that axle chatter that can creep in the instance where the pins aren't lined up. Other than that, I'm pretty excited about having it all together, and I thank you guys for stopping by. If you guys like these videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button, like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I look forward to communicating with you guys in all the wonderful ways that we have possible in this digital world that we live in. Thanks for stopping by, and have fun RCing.